In the human resource accounting, you will be measuring the cost of the human resource and also the value of the human resource to the organization. In the human resource accounting, you will be measuring the cost of the human resource and also the value of the human resource to the organization. Under this method, the human resource is equivalent to the present value of net benefits derived by the organization. Hello everyone, I am Purnima, faculty in the Department of Commerce and Management, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. I welcome you all to this session. In this session 1 of Unit 5, we will be studying about recent developments in accounting and accounting standards. Now, what are the recent developments in accounting? In this, the first development is the human resource accounting. Now, here we will be studying about what is human resource accounting and what are the different methods or approaches to human resource accounting. Now, human resource accounting means accounting for people as an organizational resource. Now, before the concept of human resource, we used to consider human resource as a liability to the organization because we had to pay salaries whenever we are hiring people for the organization. But then, after the emergence of the concept of human resource, we have to understand that human beings are resources. They are very, very important to the organization, and as such, they decide whether the success or the failure of the organization is there. So, human resource become very, very important for any organization. So, how do we do this human resource accounting? So, it means accounting for a people as an organizational resource. So, just like an organization needs the financial resources, it needs physical resources, it needs various other resources. The same way, we will be accounting for the human resources of an organization. It is the measurement of the cost and value of the people to an organization. So, in the human resource accounting, you will be measuring the cost of the human resource and also the value of the human resource to the organization. Now, how do we go about by the valuation of human resources? So, we have two types of accounting here. One is the human resource cost accounting. The second one is the human resource value accounting. So, there are two methods here, cost accounting and value accounting. Next, so in this human resource cost accounting, first thing is the historical cost method. So, this method was propounded by William C. Pyle and R.G. Barry of USA in 1967. Almost 50 years back only, we had this concept of human resource accounting, and the valuation of human resource is similar to the valuation of any physical asset. So, how do you value the human resource? What is the basis of valuation? Here, in this historical cost method, we are valuing the human resource just like any other physical asset. All expenses incurred on recruitment, selection, hiring, training, and development of human resource of the organization will be capitalized. Now, in this method of human resource accounting, we will be taking into consideration all the expenses involved in recruitment. Now, what is recruitment? It is the process of attracting people to apply for the organization. You try to give lot of advertisement and make people apply for the organization. Then, selection means you are selecting the best among whatever is among the applicants. Then, you are hiring them, training them. So, you are involving lot of cost in all this, and the development of human resource. So, for all this, we need a lot of money, and this money is the total cost of all this is the historical cost method. So, what is the cost of hiring an engineer to the company? So, what is the cost involved in recruitment? For that, you are adding the selection process, hiring process, training process, and overall the development of the human resource. So whatever the total cost involved, so that becomes the cost of that human resource. Then the next cost is the replacement cost method. Now, this method was developed by Rennes Likert and Eric G. Glamholtz. So, under this method, the human resources are valued at their present replacement cost. So, if a new organization has to be started now, the cost of recruiting, selecting, hiring, training, and developing to the present efficiency level will be considered the value of human resource of the organization. So, whatever is the cost of the hiring and developing, so if you have to replace that, so what is the cost of replacement? So that we call it as the replacement cost method. Then the next one is the opportunity cost method. So it was initiated by Hakimian and Jonas. Under this method, the value of human resource will be ascertained on the basis of its alternative use, that is on the basis of ability of performing other jobs. So if an employee has no alternative use, he has no value. So under this opportunity cost method, we value the human resource based on the alternative use, that is on the basis of his ability to perform other jobs. So if the human resource, if that person is good in performing some other job, then based on that job, we will be evaluating this person. And if the person does not know any other job, then his value will be nil. Then the next one is the standard cost method. So it has been developed by David Watson. Under this method, the standard cost per grade of employee for recruiting, selecting, hiring, training, and developing will be ascertained year after year. The standard cost so arrived for all employees of the organization gives the value of the human resources in the organization. So, in this standard cost method, we will be calculating the cost of the human resource on the basis of their recruiting, training, hiring, and selecting and developing year after year. So every year, if you have hired the employee 5 years back, then what was the cost involved then? And then again next year you have the same process again, then what will be the cost? So in this year, we will be just, for every year, we will be calculating the value of the human resource. So that we call it as the standard cost method. Then next we have the human resource cost accounting. So the last one is the total cost method. So in this method was suggested by Professor N. Dasgupta. Under this, the value of an employee of an organization will be equal to the total of the cost incurred by the employee, the state and the organization towards the education, training, etc. to make the employee sufficient to his present level or to make him fit for the organizational requirement. So, in this total cost method, so in all the previous cost methods, we were just calculating the value of the employee based on recruitment, selection, training, hiring, and development of the human resource. But in this method, we will be including the cost incurred towards the education, towards the training. So that is we will be including the cost incurred by the employee on his education and the state and the organization also. So all the three taken together, it will be the total cost method of the employee. So under this method, we will be taking into consideration the cost of education, the cost of training, etc. and also the cost of development of that particular employee to make him fit for the present job. So, the total cost method takes into consideration the cost of the employee, the cost of the state, and also the organization. Then, Next, we have the human resource value accounting. So, in the human resource cost accounting, we have 5 methods. Now, let us see what is this human resource value accounting. So, unpurchased goodwill method. So, this method is propounded by Hermanson. Under this method, the value of human resource is equal to the amount obtained by capitalizing profits in excess of normal profits. So, in this goodwill method, we will be calculating the value on the equal to the amount obtained by capitalizing profits in excess of the normal profits. So after hiring this person, if you are having some excess profits, so that excess profits, based on that excess profit, you will be assessing the value of that particular person. Then next one is present value of future earnings method. Now, what is the present value of future earnings? So, this method was developed by Lev and Schwartz. Under this method, the value of the human resource is ascertained by capitalizing the salary considering along with the age of retirement. So, under this present value of future earnings method, we will be calculating, we'll be valuing the human resource by capitalizing the salary paid to the employee along with the age of retirement. So, we will be considering the age of retirement and the salary of the employee, and we capitalize it, and whatever the amount we are getting, so that we call it as the present value of future earnings method. Then next we have the rewards valuation method. So it was suggested by Flamholtz, and it is an important over the present value of the future earnings method. So this method considers the probability of an employee leaving the organization before retirement or dying before retirement or moving into another position. So in this rewards valuation method, it considers the probability of employee leaving the organization before retirement or dying before retirement or moving into another position. So you are just calculating the value by assessing when the employee will leave the organization. Suppose that employee has been appointed and he has been in the organization for 1 or 2 years. Then you will calculate from that 2 years up to the age of retirement, what is the number of years of duration of stay in the organization, and based on that you can value that particular employee. Or you will be just calculating, suppose he has been appointed today and he is leaving the organization within 2 years, then what will be the value? So, or if he is moving to some other position, then based on all these criteria, we will be valuing the human resource, so that we call it as the rewards valuation method. The next one is the net benefit method. So it was advocated by Morse. Under this method, the human resource is equivalent to the present value of net benefits derived by the organization. So what are the net benefits derived by the organization after appointing this employee? So that will be calculated, and that will be the value of the human resource. Next we have the total payment method. So this method was propounded by Professor S.K. Chakraborty. Under this method, the valuation of the human resource must not be done individually but in aggregate. So what is the net payment you are making? What is the total payment you will be making for his services for the next 20 years? So that will be the value of the human resource. Then the next concept which is of the recent development in accounting is the environmental accounting. Now, what is this environmental accounting? It is a subset of accounting purpose is to incorporate both economic and environmental information. So, you are collaborating both economic and environment information together. It can be conducted at the corporate level or at the level of a national economy. So this kind of a collaboration of both economic and environment, we call it as the environmental accounting. So what is the need for economic environment at the corporate level? So first one is meeting regulatory requirements. So we have this concept of pollution control. So because of this concept of pollution control, they have made certain regulations which are to be followed by all the organizations. So in order to ensure that there is pollution control, so before releasing the waste into the rivers or the nature, whatever it is, so they have to treat it and then release it. So whether the company is meeting all the regulations, all the regulatory requirements it is following, that is to be made a note of. Then second one, operate its factory in such a way that environment damages do not occur. So we have to ensure that there is no pollution in the environment. So try to see that the smoke emanating from the factories, they do not pollute the nature around the factory, or try to see that your wastes are reduced to the minimum. Then promote a culture and attitude of environmentally safe working among its employees. So we have to ensure that each employee of the organization is aware of environmental pollution that organization is creating, and try to inculcate this concept of environmental preservation. Try to see that there is a culture of environmental preservation among the employees of the organization. Then disclosure to shareholders the amount or nature of preventive measures taken by the management. So what is the cost involved by the company in order to see that they are following all the norms of the environmental issues? So what is the amount they have spent on treating the waste before releasing them into the riverbeds, or what is the amount of cost involved in reducing the smoke which is released from the factories? So all these will be taken into consideration, and it has to be disclosed to the shareholders in the annual general meeting. Then next, ensures safe handling and disposal of hazardous waste. So whatever the waste that are being produced in the organization, the organization has to ensure that it is safely handled and it is safely disposed of, and it should not cause harm to any of the people who are residing around that particular organization. Then it presents in a proper manner the utilization of natural resources of the country, the cost incurred to use them, and the income earned from them. So in environmental accounting, we will also be studying about the cost incurred in utilizing the resources and also the income earned from the natural resources. Then it helps in measuring the contributions made by various business organizations in fulfilling their social responsibility. So we all know that every business should have social responsibility. So only with the help of social responsibility, we will be able to do business. So with the help of this environmental accounting, we have to ensure that all the social responsibility obligations are fulfilled by the various companies, and it also helps in measuring the extent to which a corporate enterprise has utilized the environmental resources. Now, what are the environmental resources utilized by the corporate, and what is the cost involved? So, all this, in order to find out all this, we need this concept of environmental accounting. Then, next concept is the social responsibility accounting. It aims to identify and the periodic net social contribution of a firm. So, what is the net social contribution of the firm? We can know with the help of social responsibility accounting. It includes the aggregate of net benefits to the company's employees, to the local population, and to the public in general. So, what is the total of net benefits which have been derived by the company's social responsibility? So, that is, what is the benefit derived by the employees, by the local population, and the public in general? So, when we add all this together, we get the social responsibility accounting. So, it aims to determine whether the firm's strategies and policies are consistent with the overall priorities of the community and society. So, with the help of social responsibility accounting, we will be able to ensure whether the company is following all the social norms and the culture which are laid down by the society, whether they are in tune with the society and the community as a whole. It aims to make available information of a firm's goals, policies, programs, etc. to all sections of the society. So, with the help of social responsibility accounting, we will be able to know what are the goals of the firm, what are the policies, and what are the programs to all the sections of the society. Next, what are the methods of social accounting? So, in this, the first one is the social income method, and second one is the social balance sheet method. Then, next we have the Indian accounting standards. So, what is this Indian accounting standards? What is the meaning of this? It provides principles for recognition, measurement, treatment, presentation, and disclosures of accounting transactions in financial statements prepared by any company. So, in this Indian accounting standards, we will be able to, it has laid down the principle for recognition, measurement, treatment, and presentation of accounting transactions. So, what are the transactions which have to be recognized and taken into account? What is the measurement? How you are measuring the transaction? What is the treatment you are giving? How are you presenting? And what are the rules of disclosure of accounting? All these principles have been laid down in the accounting standards. So, the primary objective of accounting standards is to harmonize the different accounting policies. So, whatever are the different accounting policies, only we can harmonize with the help of accounting standards. Next, we have the accounting standards. They are basic policy documents. Their main aim is to ensure transparency, reliability, consistency, and comparability of the financial statements. They do so by standardizing accounting policies and principles of a nation or a economy. So, with the help of accounting standards, we can ensure that there is transparency, reliability, consistency, and comparability of the financial statement. Then next, we have the accounting standards. So, what do we mean by accounting standards? They are basic policy documents. Their main aim is to ensure transparency, reliability, consistency, and comparability of the financial statements. They do so by standardizing accounting policies and principles of a nation or the economy. So, the transactions of the companies will be recorded in a similar manner if they follow these accounting standards. Now, accounting standards are nothing but policy documents which are laid down so that all the organization follow the same rules and regulations. So, this is done to ensure that there is transparency, reliability, consistency, and comparability. So, whoever is maintaining the accounts of any of his organization, he has to follow the accounting standards laid down by the Indian accounting standards, and as such, this is done to ensure that there is reliability in accounting, consistency, and comparability. These accounting standards are issued by accounting body or a regulatory board or sometimes by the government directly. In India, they are issued by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. So, the accounting standards are decided by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Now, what are the issues which this accounting standards mainly deal with? So mainly deal with the 4 major issues of accounting. In this, the first one is recognition of financial events. So what are those financial events which have to be recorded? So that is recognition. Second one is measurement of financial transactions. How do we measure the financial transactions? Third one is presentation of the statements in a fair manner. You have to ensure that whatever you have measured, it should be presented in a fair manner. Lastly, the disclosure requirement of companies to ensure stakeholders are not misinformed. So, what are the accounting disclosures which you can make and which you cannot make? What are the disclosures which you have to do for the shareholders? So, all this will be decided in accounting standards. Then, what are the objectives of accounting standards? So, accounting is often considered the language of the business as it communicates to others the financial position of the company. So, it decides the financial position of the company, and it is also the language of the business. Like every other language, it has certain syntax and grammar rules. The same is true here. These rules in the case of accounting are accounting standards. They are the framework of rules and regulations and reporting in a country. So what are the main objectives of forming these standards? The main aim is to improve the reliability of the financial statement. So the main aim of setting the organization's accounting standards is to ensure that it is reliable. So because they have to be made following the standards and users can rely on them. They know that not conforming to these standards can have serious consequences for the company. So whenever an organization is preparing the financial statement, it should be based on accounting standards. So if they don't follow the accounting standards, it will lead to serious repercussions to the organization. Then there is comparability. Following these standards will allow for inter-firm, intra-firm comparisons. It can also check the progress of the and its position in the market. So when you have the accounting standards, it will be easier for us to compare from one firm to another, and also within the firm only we can have comparison, and we can also check whether there is progress in the organization. It also looks to provide one set of accounting policies that include the necessary disclosure requirements and the valuation methods of various financial transactions. So what are the items which can be disclosed to the public, what should not be disclosed, and what are the various methods of valuation of shares, valuation of goodwill. So these are the important concepts which has to be decided by the accounting standards. They ensure that the financial statements from multiple companies are comparable. So with the help of accounting statements, you can always compare the financial statements of 2 or more companies, because all entities follow the same rules and they make the financial statements credible and allow for economic decisions based on accurate and consistent information. So with the help of these accounting standards, we can compare the accounting financial statements of 2 or more companies. We can ensure that they are credible, and based on these statements, we can also take proper economic decisions, and these statements are accurate and consistent information. With this, we come to the end of this session. Hope you have all followed it. Thank you.